Hi there. Welcome to the Imperfect Prophet podcast for women who wonder. Frankly, as we go through life, I'm sure we wonder about a great deal. First as little kids, then as adolescents, then as young women, then as transitional women. What are we calling ourselves these days? And then you get to this point in life, or my point in life, when you're postmenopausal and wondering what's next. Wondering if the parade already passed you by. Join me, Wonder Wendy. I'm going to be your host as we talk about some of these unique challenges that face women today in a new millennium, going through menopause and trying to live a rich, full life. There might even be a few men and younger women that want to listen in too. That's okay. But there's a roller coaster and we're all on it. And I'm going to be your guide to help you figure out when you should close your eyes, when you should hang on, and maybe we'll explore some ideas for what works for you if it doesn't work for me, or vice versa. So join the conversation, pick up your favorite beverage, and we'll talk to you soon. Welcome to the Imperfect Prophet.
Most mornings I wake up by 6 a.m. I am not sure when I became a morning person. When I was younger and left to my own devices, I would sleep well into the morning. I don't know, maybe it was working in corporate or parenting, but sleeping until 7 is now, sleeping in for me. I love the quiet promise of a new day, the quiet in the house when nothing is stirring and no one is making demands on my time. I can think more clearly, and the early morning light is magical in a way that it shines obliquely through the windows. It's not quite straight on. And you get an idea of the weather based on that early light, whether it's gray, golden, or glowing orange. Now, my husband, on the other hand, is not a morning person. During our marriage, he never has been. So I usually tiptoe around, kind of like a cat burglar, just trying not to disturb him, learning to close the bedroom door slowly with just a gentle click. This has been the norm for over 16 years for the two of us. But on one recent morning, he'd fallen asleep on the couch, and I came out, was doing my morning routine as quietly as I possibly could. But my movements apparently irritated him. I wasn't doing anything out of the ordinary. I wasn't rearranging the dishpans or playing with pots and pans and lids. No. But he growled at me about how noisy I was, gave me, the look, and then went back to bed. Now, of course, my first instinct was not saintly compassion. It was, seriously, do you realize how loud you chew? I didn't say it. I didn't say a word. But there I was, standing in the kitchen, holding a sick pile of leftover energy that wasn't even mine. He'd have to go back to sleep. I got to carry the mood. It's amazing how moods can be contagious, like emotional secondhand smoke. You don't mean to breathe it in, but before you know it, you're choking on someone else's toxic cloud. I felt like I was trying to swim to the surface with a cement block tied around my ankle. That energy was just so heavy. Now, people sometimes assume that because I talk about wonder, I live in a perpetual state of sparkle. Like every day I wake up a Disney princess with birdsong and enlightenment. Let me assure you, I don't. Sometimes I wake up to grumpiness and crumbs on the counter. Once in a while, the grump is even me and the messes that I forgot to deal with the day prior. Well, hey there. Welcome to another episode of The Imperfect Prophet with me, your host, Wonder Wendy. And today I'm letting you in on this secret. I'm not always in a good mood, and maybe you aren't either. I've got my beverage. I hope you're staying hydrated. Now, if you're listening in your car today or on your morning walk, take a deep breath. Let's have a little check-in. Where's your mood today? Sunny skies, overcast, thunderstorms incoming? And here's the thing, we don't even know what our mood is until we feel it in our bodies sometimes. So if you're listening right now, let's do a little exercise. Move your eyes around. Are you squinting? Or are they open and taking in the world around you? How about your jawline? Wiggle that jaw. Does it feel smooth? Is that movement nice? Or is there a little tension going on in there? Place your hand over your chest. Feel your heart. What do you feel? Is it smooth? Is it beating fast? Check in with yourself once in a while. See how you're feeling. How about your shoulders? Give them a wiggle. Oh, well, if they aren't moving as smoothly, maybe you need to do a little more stretching. Let go of that energy that gets clenched up when our shoulders become earrings. How about your belly? Place your hand on your belly. Take a deep breath in and see what you feel. Is it a good, clean breath, or do you feel tight? If you're feeling tightness in these movements, you may be holding on to some things that it's time to let go of. The body tells the truth long before the mind even begins to catch up. Now just notice, no fixing, no judging, just awareness. Now, we talk a lot here about living the wonderful bucket list life, about noticing light, laughter, and magic, even in the hard stuff. Maybe especially during the hard stuff. But sometimes even the most wonderful among us, and that probably isn't me, wakes up with a cloud hanging overhead. You remember Eeyore in the Winnie and the Pooh books and how he was always glum with a bit of cloud over his head. Oh, well, probably gonna happen to me. Don't be an Eeyore. But once in a while, it's tempting, isn't it? Today, let's talk about the truth behind positivity. Because choosing light doesn't mean pretending darkness doesn't exist. As a matter of fact, our circadian rhythms prefer a bit of darkness. In the northernmost countries, there is sunshine almost 24 hours a day in the summer. I hear that a certain amount of insanity sets in and people crave blackout blinds. We want that balance, a little darkness, a little bit of light. It's learning how to navigate the darkness that's the challenge. And being wonderful or full of wonder isn't about being cheerful all the time or an unrelenting ray of fucking sunshine. It's about being whole, about learning to make better choices and learning to program our minds so that the first response isn't, well, pluck you. These moments, these messy, moody, unfiltered moments are where we learn who we are. Our true selves lie in those reflexive, automatic actions, not in the planned responses. That's why I offer open source programming for the human mind. Not telling you how to behave, but offering a better operating system that you can adapt to your own style and needs. As you practice living a life full of wonder, it will slowly become part of who you are. I used to think my options were either to lash out or shut down. What else do you do? But lately I've been experimenting with a third choice. Pause, reflect, breathe, and ask, is this mine to carry? It's easy to say, not as easy to do. But positivity that ignores pain becomes acting. That pasted on grin that pretends everything is okay, I'm fine, can cause mental and sometimes physical pain. I know a few folks who have seen that emotional pain turn into ulcers. Some studies indicate that unresolved stress can manifest in heart disease, cancer, and other physical manifestations. When I was spiraling in middle school, just a few years ago, my body started keeping score. Headaches, stomach knots. I missed a lot of school because I just didn't feel good. Doctors performed tests and eliminated all sorts of diseases. But it turns out it was my soul's way of saying, hey, something's off here. But my parents and I didn't know how to address what was going on in my body. That manifestation of stress was probably a reflection of what was going on at home. I don't think I was totally aware of how much I saw of my parents arguing. And they were going through a rough patch. Happens. My mom was going through menopause, life stuff, right? In hindsight, as good as my life was, my parents were going through a stress, and I felt it. I didn't understand it. I didn't know how to verbalize it. And I don't think it occurred to them what it was doing to me. It was upsetting. They got through their rough patch. I got some therapy and finally found my niche in high school. Chronic headaches disappeared. I still do get headaches, but it's a lot different than it was then. Once I started allowing bad days, naming them, talking about them, some of the physical symptoms started to ease. Turns out, emotional honesty is one of the best vitamins we can take. Here's a little trick I've learned over the few years that have intervened between middle school and now. When my mood starts spiraling, I need to narrate it out loud. I need to talk about it. I call it feeling the undertow, but sharing that with somebody really helps. And just naming it helps me begin to formulate a strategy for recovery and moving forward. Oh, remember that big bag of toxic energy left at my feet when my husband went back to bed? Well, carrying that is kind of like throwing a banana peel in your purse so you can deal with it later. I don't know if you've ever seen a banana peel left out, but it very quickly turns into something brown, slimy, and teeming with fruit flies. Find a way to properly let go of that rotting bit of negativity and move on with your day. The people you interact with for the rest of the day will be grateful you did, whether it's a slimy emotional energy or slimy emotional fruit peel. Nobody wants to see that. Real light comes from seeing the dark, not denying it. Ooh. Dr. Martin Luther King said it best. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. But here's the thing, we can't shine light on what we refuse to acknowledge. Boom. Now, mercifully, on that moody morning when my husband had left me fuming, I had lunch plans with a friend. And I'll be honest, I almost canceled. I thought, she doesn't want to see me like this with this black hole of a mood. But I went. I only considered turning the car around a couple of times. And the moment we sat down, she looked at me and said, "You would not believe the mood my husband was in this morning." Well, I laughed and shared my morning. And we both laughed. We vented, we bitched a little, okay, maybe a lot. And in that honest exchange, we both felt seen and supported, and our moods started to lift. It was such a simple thing. 2 women, 2 beverages. I'll let you fill in the blank as to what we had drank with our little lunch. What that was is immaterial. But the permission to be ourselves and be honest, to be imperfect, that was invaluable. There's something holy about women over shared frustration. It's kind of like a communion without the wafer. And that, to me, is real light. And here's what I've learned, bucket listers. You can't skip the storms on your way to wonder. Rain is part of the landscape. Not as much here in Arizona, but it is still part of the landscape. And many parts of the country are in drought conditions and actually need the rain. Remember that when you're tempted to curse the storm. Granted, if you planned an outdoor event and the rain falls, you are likely to be really frustrated that you ended up in a gym or instead of under the blue sky like you'd planned or envisioned. That said, if your perfect wedding doesn't go as planned, should you allow that to affect the rest of your marriage? You had to wear barn boots instead of white slippers. Okay, that's actually kind of funny and not the worst thing that will ever happen. As a matter of fact, your ability to laugh through that and still enjoy your wedding might indicate a better marriage in the long run. Just thinking. Have you ever taken an airplane ride when the clouds are thick and it's raining on the ground level? But once the plane reaches cruising altitude, you are above the clouds and the sun is bright. Now, just because the dark clouds gathered overhead doesn't mean the sun's disappeared. It's still way up there, steady, shining, waiting for the winds to shift, ready to work with that rain and bring new life when the time gets right. Same is true for us. A bad mood doesn't mean you've lost your light. It just means you're weathering something human. Ooh, human. Ick. So when you catch yourself in a mood, ask, what's this really trying to teach me? Oh, that's such a valuable question to me. So often I turn negative moments around by simply saying, okay, there's got to be a lesson in here. What's the lesson? And I look for it. There's something to be learned in almost everything. What needs tending? Is there something that I've allowed to fester in my purse that's getting rotten? Let's take care of that. And what small thing, a walk, a call, a laugh, screaming in the backyard, would that help me find the light again? Is there a way to recapture and let go of that stress? A very famous Vermont expression is, if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. It'll change. Yep, that sometimes actually is true in Vermont. But the same is true for moods. They pass faster when you stop gripping them so tightly. So experience it and move on. The smell of rain on pavement, the first glimmer of sun after a storm. We forget that contrast is what makes that beautiful. So many thoughts, so many ways we actually need our pain to feel the good. Now, just so we're clear, when I got back from lunch, my husband didn't offer flowers or an apology. I don't think he was even aware that he'd set me off that morning. He didn't suddenly become tender or reflective. He didn't say, hey, I'm sorry I dumped my mood on you. Because sometimes people don't. They're not aware. Sometimes they never have. They don't know how. Sometimes they were never taught how. That's a tough thing to navigate. But here's the truth I'm slowly coming to grips with. Sometimes stubbornly coming to grips with. My peace cannot depend on someone else's emotional skill set. I can wish he would show up differently sometimes. I can hope he learns to own his own energy someday. But in the meantime, I get to decide what I carry. I get to release what isn't mine. I get to restore myself even when others don't offer repair. forgiveness of yourself and others. Whew. And I thought this was just about having bad days. Okay. We talked about other people having impact on us. But there are other days. Oh, we all know these days. When it feels like the universe itself has gathered in a little huddle and said, okay, team, let's see how much we can throw at her before she snaps. It's like there's an evil villain script writing for you that day. You know, you go to pour your milk into your coffee and it doesn't smell right. Ooh. But, ew. And the kind where you stare and think, this is a personal attack. Somebody's out to get me just because I can't have my coffee. Ooh, now you're off your rhythm. You didn't get to start your day with that sacred cup of coffee. Oh, yeah. A cup of coffee can be a sacred ritual, or tea, or lemon water, whatever you drink. But that's your ritual. That's your sacred starting point. And if that's disrupted, the whole day is ruined. Yeah. But these days when a gremlin or an evil villain is writing your script, okay, fine. I'm going to go without my coffee. You start driving down the street and it's starting to rain. But you forgot your raincoat. Is it worth turning around and running late? What else can happen today? You shouldn't have asked the universe what else can happen because bing, tire pressure warning light. Of course. But the car feels fine. So you decide we're living dangerously today. We're rolling on faith and worn rubber. And then because the universe loves a comedy beat, thick, not even interesting traffic, just slow for no reason. As you're in this inexplicably slow traffic, monitoring your tire pressure, wondering how much it's going to rain, still grumpy because of your caffeine deficiency, you think to yourself, is this really my life? Am I actually being punked by the cosmos? Please tell me this is a reality show. Ooh, maybe Alan Funt is going to come out any moment and let me in on the joke. Yeah, that's an age joke. For younger people, I think it might be Ashton Kutcher did Punked. So fill in the appropriate person appearing to tell you this is all just a joke. And here, now we can all laugh together. But that mood is right there, right at the surface. One tiny nudge away from exploding into tears or curses, or maybe both. Yeah. And in that moment, that's when the work really begins. Not the big dramatic mountain moving spiritual transformation, just pause and breathe. Because now you're starting to look for things that are going wrong. You are making it worse. I'm not saying you do that. I'm saying I do it. But if you do it too, maybe we can connect over this little point, because it might have happened to me on a couple different days. So you stop and you think, okay, I see what kind of day we're having. I don't have to love it. I'm not grateful for, not having a raincoat and having a tire with tire warning and wondering what that's going to cost and whether how longer I can drive on it, whether I'm going to make it on time because this traffic is going so slow. And I still haven't had my cup of coffee. Pull out the Starbucks app, look for the nearest store. And sometimes that's all we can do. I don't have to love it, but I don't have to surrender to it either. Recognize the gremlins, acknowledge their existence, and refuse to hand them the keys to the day. It's not going to fix the rain. It's not going to refill the milk. And it's not, unfortunately, going to change the traffic. But it does keep your center from being hijacked by a day that started without your permission. And I want to say something here, something that I don't think we say out loud often enough. Sometimes the hardest part of being in a bad mood is that we take it personally. If I'm grumpy today, does that mean I'm not a joyful person? Does that make me a bad person? Is everything ruined because I had a bad day? That's like saying you got 99 questions on a 100-question test right, and you got one wrong, and you failed. Life doesn't work that way. The world feels like it's out to get me. Does that mean I've failed at being grateful? No, it just means a lot of things have gone wrong. But I'm grateful I have a car that may need some work. I'm grateful that I have a raincoat, even though I forgot it. Okay. Oh, and if I'm snapping or withdrawn or overwhelmed, does it mean I'm not living the wonderful life I teach? Because I try and live the life I encourage you all to join me in. And sometimes I'm not really good at it. I'll be honest. There are days I don't want to go out, days I don't want to play, days I don't want to talk to anybody, days I don't want to eat the best diet. Things like that. I do. Some days the mood itself isn't really the problem. It's the shame that we attach to it. You should know better. Practice what you preach. If you were really healed, you wouldn't feel like this. We're always growing and healing. You probably will never perfect being healed, and that's okay. Oh, I want to push back on the feeling of failure, gently but firmly. Feeling bad does not mean something is wrong with you. It means you are alive. You are human. That means you're sensitive. You're paying attention. And like I said, you're just a human. It's part of the human condition. This life we are all living, this wonderful life we are building, is not about perfection. It's about being awake in the full range of your experience. Own the good moments. Live through the bad moments. Look for the lessons. Because numbing, whether it's, turning your back on it, or drugs or alcohol, or just stony silence, because you don't want to talk about it. Numbing isn't wonder. And pretending you're all right is not being present. It's not being real in the moment. And masking, it's not magic. It's just hiding. And wonder isn't the absence of shadows. Wonder is what happens when you notice the shadow and remember there is still light. And honestly, sometimes the most wonderful thing we can do is allow ourselves to be seen in the in-between. You don't always have to be cheerful. Some days enlightenment will elude you, and that is okay. Being above it, well, like that plane flying over the clouds, isn't an option many days. So be real, be human, but be here. Be now. And that is enough. You are enough. And if today happens to be one of those days, one of those really heavy ones, I want to say this directly to you. You are allowed to have days like this. You are allowed to not perform at your brightest. You are allowed to not have the lesson yet. And like the weather, well, these days present you with elements beyond your control. And that's frustrating, but you are not failing. You are not falling behind. You are not disappointing anyone. You are human, and being human is not a flaw, especially not when you live a wonderful life. It's the doorway to wonder. So here's your challenge this week. Don't try to fix every bad mood. Just notice it. Let it be like the weather, but not your identity. You don't have to be on all the time to inspire others. Ooh, I think I'm talking to myself there. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply say, yeah, me too. What a blessing that friend had that we could share that rough morning. Kind of funny that it happened to both of us at the same time, and then we come together. And it allowed us to bond and feel just a little bit angry, and also deepened our friendship. Stop chasing perfect moods and start choosing honest presence. So until next time, may your week be wonderful and full of wonder, even if it's a little moody around the edges. I've had a few days like that this week. Pick up your beverage and stay hydrated. The sun will shine again. Take a breath. Feel the weight lift, even if it's just a little bit. And that's the light doing its work. Until next week, take care.
Like what you heard here today? Then we should be friends. I suggest you join my Facebook group. It's a good way to connect. We can have a conversation. Ask me questions, whatever you want to do. It is called the Wonderful Bucket List Life. That's Wonder-Full Bucket List Life. Be a bucket lister and join me on this adventure. Or you can go to my webpage, which is Wonder Wendy and Friends. Join the mailing list, learn about the book I wrote, adventures that are coming up in the future, and other podcasts. I look forward to talking to you soon, and stay hydrated. Have a great day.